Why is the Russia-Ukraine conflict stuck in a never-ending loop of city street brawls? And why does Washington talk a big game about flattening Iran, yet hesitate to send boots on the ground into Tehran? Welcome to Urban Warfare, the ultimate meat grinder. It's a hellscape that makes even the UN Security Council sweat. What's the actual logic behind fighting in a concrete jungle? Who holds the better tactical playbook? Welcome to OmniFrame. Let's decode the chaos. Before we dive in, let me ask you a question. Does urban warfare just mean shooting in the streets? Unlike wide-open field battles where armies can maneuver, city fights drop you into a 3D death maze. It requires absurd levels of combined arms coordination. Sieges, breaching, clearing, and peacekeeping. It's an endless checklist. Gamers think city combat is just a giant Call of Duty map, but CQB is just one tiny fraction of it. Even if I never set foot in your city, but just surround it, cut off your supply lines, and wait for you to starve. That is still urban warfare. If I drop bombs 24/7 to turn your skyline into a parking lot, giving you that crispy summer night vibe. Guess what? Also urban warfare. Using the sewer system to pull off Ninja Turtle-style ambushes? Yep, urban warfare. The real boss of this battlefield isn't the enemy infantry, it's the concrete itself. Buildings are natural fortresses. They provide the high ground and completely block line of sight. Aerial drones can't see through apartment roofs, and concrete rebar kills comm signals. The attacker's high-tech gear gets totally nerfed. Meanwhile, the defender gets one-way transparency from the basement to the penthouse. Unless you pull a French move in Africa, racing light armor to lock down city gates before the rebels arrive. Defenders who have time to prep will turn an ordinary neighborhood into a fortified nightmare. Taking the mayor's office or the local hospital doesn't mean you own the city. And the result? A heavy price doesn't even begin to cover the body bag count. Look at the First Chechen War in 1994. The Russian 131st Motorized Rifle Brigade rolled into Grozny with over 100 tanks. They expected their superior firepower to just steamroll the key intersections. But they drove straight into the downtown train station and right into a kill zone. Chechen fighters used vertical crossfire from high-rise apartments. Tanks couldn't aim their barrels high enough. In just 3 days, the Russian vanguard was nearly wiped out. City combat is a 3D nesting doll, above ground, underground, and next door. Remember the endless tug-of-war we've seen in Gaza? Taking the surface means absolutely nothing if the enemy has an underground tunnel network. They'll pop out of a kitchen cabinet or a stairwell, take a shot, and vanish. You think you beat the boss? Nope, they just went to the next building to use a medkit and respawn. Fun fact, since the Battle of Berlin at the end of World War II, we haven't seen two major militaries throw down inside a massive subway system for 80 years. But make no mistake, these subterranean steel mazes are the future's bloodiest battlefields. There is no level cleared screen in urban combat, just an infinite loop of respawns. So, how do professional armies actually prepare for this? They read the manual. Here at OmniFrame, we look at the raw doctrine. Let's talk about the textbooks these generals study. You have Russian tactical manuals focusing heavily on motorized rifle battalions and top-down command. It's a brutal, math-based approach to siege warfare and defense. On the flip side, you have the U.S. Army's Ranger Handbook and squad-level infantry doctrine. The U.S. focuses entirely on decentralized command, initiative, and small unit tactics. When you look at modern conflicts like Ukraine, you are literally watching these two doctrines collide. It's the Soviet hammer meeting the NATO scalpel in real time. And if you want to keep getting deep tactical dives like this, hit subscribe to OmniFrame right now. Alright, moving past the theory, taking a city actually boils down to 3 absolute extremes. Extreme intelligence, extreme firepower, and extreme logistics. Intel always comes first. Where are the enemy's heavy machine guns? Where do the sewers pop out? Which load-bearing wall can we drop to create a shortcut? And most importantly, where are the civilians we absolutely cannot drop a bomb on? This takes satellites, drones, ground spies, and bleeding-edge AI image recognition. Information dominance is the only way you survive the first hour. Take the siege of the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol, the ultimate fortress. To crack it, Russia literally dug up the original Soviet blueprints from their archives. They mapped out the structural weaknesses, the bunker layouts, and the ventilation shafts. Realizing an infantry sweep would be suicide, they just spammed 3,000-kilogram glide bombs until the defenders tapped out. The US military, on the other hand, flexes its intel gathering completely differently. In Fallujah, Iraq, they blanketed the sky with spy satellites and Reaper drones. They mapped every single insurgent fighting position and cut off the city's power grid before firing a shot. Today, they just use a swarm of drones and a few robotic dogs on a mesh network. It's a 24/7 dystopian surveillance state that keeps friendly casualties incredibly low. Once you have the intel, you can forget about tactical elegance. Just bring the pain. To avoid getting bogged down in the meat grinder, every military prioritizes absolute firepower. But the way the US and Russia apply that firepower is wildly different. Russia loves the sledgehammer approach. Heavy combined arms pushes. They will saturate a grid square with artillery, effectively remodeling the city layout. Then, they send in heavy armor and shock infantry to carve up the remaining sectors. That's exactly why they built the BMP-T Terminator, a tank designed just to shoot up into apartment windows. The US prefers a surgical strike, assuming a JDAM can be considered a scalpel. Relying on total air supremacy and precision-guided munitions, they just delete targets from the sky. The ground infantry? They're basically just the cleanup crew moving through the rubble. With cheap commercial drones and tactical comms becoming standard issue, calling in a precise airstrike is now something a 20-year-old corporal can do from a tablet. But having god-tier firepower doesn't automatically mean you get to keep the city. Logistics is the true final boss of urban warfare and the one everybody ignores. Unless you completely overwhelm the enemy on day one, a drawn-out siege is inevitable. So when politicians tweet about sending troops to flatten Iran, the Pentagon is sweating over the receipts from their last Middle East adventure. During counter-terror ops in Iraq from 2014 to 2017, the US dropped 100,000 precision bombs. That's an average of 2,500-pound bombs per individual target. It nearly drained the entire US Air Force's smart bomb stockpile. And despite all that, insurgent networks in the region weren't completely wiped out. If a full-scale conflict broke out with a heavily entrenched nation like Iran today, the logistical nightmare would grow exponentially. Iran's underground bunker system is massive. Given the current production bottlenecks in the US defense industry, could factories even pump out enough smart munitions to sustain that kind of war? Could the infantry hold the line when the artillery shells inevitably run dry? Could any modern administration survive the political fallout of thousands of body bags? These are the questions keeping generals awake at night. Sure, you could just bulldoze a city into dust to save on logistics. But not every country has the political capital or the nerve to face that level of global outrage. Bottom line, 2/3 of humanity now lives in urban centers. The concrete jungle is the undeniable future of human conflict. Finding the balance between firepower, civilian cost, and logistics, that is the ultimate test for the militaries of tomorrow. This has been OmniFrame, giving you the attacker's POV on the urban meat grinder. Next time a conflict flares up, ask yourself, how will the defenders use the concrete to pull off a miracle? If you like this tackle breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Peace out.